Deng Makuach, Deng, good evening and thank you for joining us. So the world is shocked at this latest wave of violence, and we've heard such conflicting stories from both sides. Can you tell us what sparked this latest wave of violence last week?
Thank you for having me. As you are aware, South Sudan signed a peace agreement between the government and the rebels, and we are implementing the peace agreement in Juba. The security arrangements are in place. Unfortunately, on Thursday, the elements within the opposition, the SPLM, SPLAIO, decided to attack our forces at the checkpoint in Juba and kill 5 members of our soldiers. As a result, the president was compelled to call upon his first vice president and the vice president to talk about the issue that had occurred that night. Unfortunately, the same group, the same element within SPLAIO attacked the presidential guards at the State House on Friday while the 2 principals were having a meeting. As a result, this escalated out of hand and the crisis went all over Juba. And for the last few days, we've been having this crisis in Juba. However, I want to assure you that the situation is being controlled by the government now. The government is in control of Juba. The government has taken over the security. And we are trying very hard to contain such elements from getting out of hand.
And when you say government, you are referring to the unitary government that is headed by President Salva Kiir and the Vice President Riek Machar?
Exactly. Both principles are on the same page. There are elements within, as I said, there are elements within the camp of Dr. Riek Machar that have decided not to obey the security protocol that is arranged as part of the peace agreement.
All right, but Riek Machar says, you know, these things happened a little differently, that it was their compound that was attacked on Thursday.
On Thursday, the checkpoint where the soldiers were killed is not a compound of Dr. Riek Machar. On Friday, Dr. Riek Machar and Salva were surprised that there was an attack outside the State House where they were having a meeting.
So is it your statement today that Riek Machar is not in full control of his troops?
I would want to say the government is in full control of its forces. However, it is Dr. Riek Machar and his group to see to it that their forces or the elements that are acting out of the security protocol are being disciplined.
Some say this could have been handled differently. So you're saying, you know, they attacked the forces at the checkpoint. Yes. President Salva Kiir was then forced to retaliate, as it were, or to protect the checkpoint. Then some say, could there have been a different way that President Salva Kiir could have handled this? Because it just seems like it's tit for tat all of a sudden. We're hearing latest reports of close to 200 people dead.
Salva Kiir never retaliated. While the event on Friday was Salva Kiir and Dr. Riek Machar were in the same venue, and the same element came and attacked both the forces of Dr. Riek Machar, the protection unit, for Dr. Riek Machar as well as for the president. This was an attack in the State House. Both of them were having a meeting. After the event was cleared, both of them had a press conference to say they are unaware of the situation.
So then, can you paint for us the current situation in South Sudan now? Information coming out is very scanty. We're hearing of people leaving. You know, there's a number of evacuations that are happening in South Sudan at the moment. So what is the current situation?
Current situation is that Juba is calm. I also want to tell you that this evening the president have declared ceasefire between the government and the armed opposition. Again, the chief of general staff of the country have also ordered all the soldiers of the government to return to their barracks. The situation in Juba is calm. The government is in control. We are trying to make sure that all the citizens are protected as well as their properties.
Is that the case? Because we're hearing US and India are evacuating their nationals. Possibly 2 Chinese peacekeepers dead. The UK is also advising against travel. A number of regional airlines are cancelling flights, have cancelled flights, KQ, Rwandair, a number of those. 200 people are dead, and many say, did it have to come to this again, you know, so soon after signing the peace agreement?
As a government, we understand the fear that both the international organizations and diplomatic community are concerned about the current situation in Juba. However, as a government, we are doing our part, and we want to assure people that Juba is safe. There is no need to panic. There is no need to evacuate your people now. I think between the next 2 days, we should be hearing something different.
What's the current humanitarian situation at the moment? Can you give us some numbers? How many dead, how many needing assistance? We're hearing of even certain Kenyans who are living there and are being told, do not leave your houses. They have no access to food or essential items.
Well, the current situation, anybody will be alarmed to stay put in the house. However, I want to tell you that in such a situation, the humanitarian situation in South Sudan, especially in Juba, is okay because it's reachable to some other extent. The people that are moving out of Juba are not going far, okay? The conflict also, the current crisis is being contained, and therefore there is no much worry that our citizens are running far than the border of Uganda, maybe the border of Kenya as well. So I think the humanitarian should just support it as we try to handle this situation.
Okay, I know we're talking a lot about Juba, but my final question to you would be, some say things are not quite right in South Sudan. In fact, 2 weeks ago, fighting broke out in Wau, in the western part of South Sudan, between government and opposition forces, and I hesitate to use that term because it should be a unitary government in South Sudan. And the UN says that 70,000 people were displaced from this fighting in Wau. So this is not just what's happening in the capital, Juba, but it seems like there's quite a few pockets of violence that are taking place across the country.
Well, we cannot verify the number that are being given by the international NGOs. Because in a conflict zone, I don't know if you can really count one by one how many people are being displaced. But any estimation is always welcome. We don't want to escalate the situation out of hand. We want to assure the people that South Sudan is peaceful. We want to say that we are in control of the current situation. Yes, there are some elements that have been attacking the government positions as well as terrorizing the citizens in the country.
With all due respect, it really isn't about 70,000. Even one person being displaced in any part of South Sudan should be of concern to the government. So my question is, what are you doing to deal with these pockets of violence across the country?
As I told you, that we are trying to maintain the situation as we speak now. Juba is peaceful. Everything is under control. Let's just say that, there is a lot of panic within the citizens. There is a lot of panic from the international community as well as the neighbors.
So what's your message?
And we understand this.
All right. What's your message to, the neighboring, the East African community? IGAD is concerned. The U.S. is concerned. UN, Ban Ki-moon is saying you are squandering so much promise in this country. You just celebrated five years independence, barely did actually, with the current situation. So what's your message then to the international community? What assurances can you give the international community, Kenyans and many others living in South Sudan?
Well, we understand the disappointment. We understand what each and every one have done to help the country of South Sudan. However, I still want to say the future of South Sudan is very bright. This is a young country. There is a lot of expectation. The government is trying very hard. The people of South Sudan have tried their best. I think we just need to be supported regionally. We don't need to invent the wheel and to really take things a little bit extreme that South Sudan is failing. We are not failing. I think everybody have gone through their turbulences. All these problems are global. You have America having their crisis. You have Somalia having their crisis. South Sudan is not the first and will not be the last. However, we are saying we are trying our best as a young country to do what we can in order to rescue our people and to protect them and to protect their lives as well as the people who have helped us, especially the East African community.
All right, thank you very much. Deputy Head of Mission from South Sudan to Kenya, Jimmy Makuach Deng, we thank you and we hope to hear some better news from South Sudan in the coming days. Thank you for making the time to be with us.
Thank you.
Here on Monday Night News. We thank you for staying with us. We're taking a short break. We will be back. Abby Agina will be talking business with us in just a moment. Stay with us.